Yeah. Young Satoshi. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain. Mine 10 blocks on a blockchain. My ETH father for the got paid. These dragons selling like they hotcakes. We go to the moon like we don't got breaks. If you want to transact on a marketplace, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain. Dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain. Mine 10 blocks on a blockchain. My ETH father for the got paid. These dragons selling like they hotcakes. We going to the moon like we don't got breaks. If you want to transact on a marketplace, dragon chain, dragon chain, dragon chain. My ETH costs more than your rent. I spend my life savings, get a 10. Dragons get the hottest coming next. Me and Joe Rose making bets. All this shit seem new to me. Mixing blockchain with security. Keeping data safe is the fluency. How could you not fuck with the company? This the best thing since the internet. Shout to Joe Nell on the project. Dragon Days of Summer getting tired yet? All the coin holders flying private jet. Bought a few dragons for retirement. Eileen Quinton, please call me if you got a sec. Blockchain bitches, yeah, we eyeing it. The dragon is a leash, and we mining it.
Hello, everybody. We are now live on World Blockchain Roundtable. I am your host, the Emperor of Den.Social and the Den DAO. I am the duly elected Emperor of a DAO, believe it or not, the first in the world. I was unopposed, elected unanimously, and therefore today I have the distinct honor to host the World Blockchain Roundtable show because our other fearless leader, Joe Rhodes, is unable to attend at the beginning of the show. And with me, I have Andrew Joseph. Wave your hand, Andrew. Let us know who you are. There you are. He is with the Legacy Right podcast. Below him is his partner in crime. Wave your hand, Zach. There he is. That Kaiser. All right. Soon, I hope Joe will be joining us. Satoshi Sean should be joining us here momentarily, as well as hopefully we will get Greg on here because today's World Blockchain Roundtable is about, you guessed it, having to do with privacy. And that's why I let that intro there with the countdown about censorship. Because today on World Blockchain Roundtable, we're going to be talking about privacy missing from the most popular blockchain protocols, or why is it missing from the most popular blockchain? This show is about technology and surrounded by blockchain. The first half of the show, we talk about whatever topic has been voted in, and guess what? There is Greg.
There he is, man of the hour.
There's the man of the hour.
We are glad you're here, sir, because guess what? You, sir, are the one who is the lucky winner. Oh, you won the vote for this week's topic. The theme this week, again, is your construct, privacy missing from the most popular blockchain protocols. So I'm going to have a specific question just for you about this topic here in just a second. Last week's show, I don't have that loaded up in front of me to know how many lot was distributed amongst everybody. But this show is where you can go to Den.Social. You can post a question. It gets voted on and it gets moved over into the show. And we as panelists must answer your question live and on air. And then you will be rewarded lot tokens. And that's how the show works. The audience drives the theme. The theme must stay within blockchain. But the audience votes on themes for the next month and each week. Then there are questions proposed by the media and the people at large on which topic or which questions the blockchain experts will answer. So, Greg, we're glad you're here. I apologize.
Dude, I'm glad to be here, honestly.
Good.
A few topics are more important these days, I think.
Absolutely. Let me
Yes.
share my screen here. I did not have this set up just yet. Hang on.
While you're getting that going, one thing to remember about privacy is if it were truly intact properly, none of us would be where we are right now in the sense that we would need a politician to save us, right?
Yes.
There wouldn't even be a need for an Elon Musk to be a hero. There wouldn't be a need for Donald Trump to be a hero. There would just be this thing that we look at straight on looks like what I would call, and actually what a lot of people have called for decades now, the selective or the right to selectively reveal oneself to the world.
Right.
That is how the cypherpunks define privacy and have since Timothy May wrote the Crypto Anarchist Manifesto. And when you really think about what that means, the right to selectively reveal oneself to the world, it's a lot more than just anonymity. It's a lot more than being able to stay hidden. It's also part and parcel with being able to speak up when you want to reveal yourself to the world.
Wow.
It's a two-way street, I guess.
Agreed.
And with it, we would all have been a lot more secure. So
yes.
Anyway, with that, Chapeau, go ahead.
Great.
Hey, I know a whole lot about privacy and security, man. I used to try to smoke out in a dugout with my homies, so a literal dugout. So one of us be the lookout too. Be like, is it a cop?
Oh yeah.
All right, guys, put it down.
And privacy is super awesome for like staying out of trouble when you're trying to get away with something other people don't want you to do. But it's also great for staying out of trouble when the people that want you to stop doing something happen to want you to shut up about like the rights of your family or your neighbors or your friends or your property or like something really important, and they want you to shut up because they're busy looting you or they're busy robbing you or they're busy murdering your family. You know, like these kinds of things. These are part of privacy too, right? The reason that we have it is so that no power can overwhelm one person.
Agreed.
Fully.
Agreed. So. Well, let's get into it. Believe it or not, this is episode 194. And we have this every week, every Thursday at 10 Central Time. So that would be 4 p.m. UT time. And that is crazy that we're on episode 194. This show is probably the first show in crypto history that has its own DAO, longest running show with a DAO. And it's insane that we're at 194. So 52... We're almost 4 years into this.
It's so crazy. You know, reminds me of a weird situation too, because not really a weird situation. It creates a weird juxtaposition in my mind, because something like 2-3 years ago, right? 4 years ago now, we were all in the midst of being tortured long past the due date of kind of a weird tyranny, right? Right. The world was a lot. Remember how that shit was when we started doing this show?
I wasn't tuned in back then.
It was my only escape hatch, honestly.
Wow.
I looked forward to this so much because we literally weren't seeing humans at the time. Largely because I refused to be conformative over like a lot of the mandates they couldn't enforce, right? Like,
agreed. Me too. Yeah.
But
so today's show, thanks, Greg. You nominated this, and
I missed the point. I missed the point there. Tom Woods hit 200 right around then, and I was like, I'll never have a show that has that many episodes.
I was about ready to say, at 200, we should bring Tom Woods on. Tom Woods, if you're listening, Yeah, if
Yeah.
you're
Put us
listening,
over.
Tom Woods.
Make it a very successful
us over.
podcast.
Yeah,
Right.
it's weird because when you get here, it doesn't feel like the way you described it is exactly right. It doesn't feel like we should be here, but then again, it seems like we passed here a long time ago.
Right. So
We're just
privacy
very
missing
failed.
from the most popular blockchain protocols. I'm going to deviate. I'm going to do an audible here real quick. Jacob Williams got the first question, but I, as the
Mr.
emperor, am going to make sure that everyone knows
Mr.
that I have a little bit of power here, and I'm calling an audible to ask Greg this specific question.
Obviously,
Why did you propose this topic, and why do you think privacy is missing in most popular blockchain protocols? So this question's for Greg.
Okay, I think there's a theory here or two that are worth looking at because there are actually a couple of facets here, right? If you look at it from the perspective of like a sort of a neo-Machiavellian or like a Curtis Yarvin Jacobite kind of thing, right? If you look at it from that point of view, then the reason that that power hates privacy is because privacy is power. Ultimate expression of power is to make it so you don't see people unless you want to. You know, people buy nannies, people buy groundskeepers. People don't buy away their goals in life, though, right? They buy obstacles out of the way. They buy their time back. And it just depends on how single-minded you are, how much you're willing to isolate yourself with money. You know, like these people literally pay for privacy if they can, but usually you can't. And that's what's amazing about privacy is it's so feared by power.
Right.
And for me,
Right. Would privacy be considered a negative right, or is it the availed positive right?
Okay, privacy something from a legal context is especially interesting. Actually, I'm glad you brought it up because it's what's called a penumbral constitutional right in the current. Like it has some shaky underpinnings in the same way Roe had shaky underpinnings. Like from just like a structural standpoint, it was not a very well supported decision. There was a lot of things about the basis for it that we know are false. There's a lot of things about the basis for it that we didn't know would corrode society. You know, privacy is a thing that we started with.
Yeah, it is.
Great. And I say we started with it like in a fundamental sense. This is how I look at privacy, by the way. I just wanted to throw in my own definition.
Sure.
We all started with it. Privacy is really ultimately consciousness itself.
Consciousness. Yes.
If you don't have, well, I mean, if you don't have it, how do you ever distinguish yourself as an individual? Right?
Well, that you know what that warrants, Greg. It warrants this.
I love it.
Jesus, he was really astute with that. That sums up a lot of my quotes in a really broad, general way.
By the way, I think we need a. Sorry. I'm
welcome,
late.
Joe, and welcome, Sean.
I ran over.
We were just talking about how weird it is to be close to 200
episodes.
Oh yeah. What is it? 194?
194. We're 194 today.
Right on. Right on. Very good.
You were
and at 200, we're bringing Tom Woods on.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
And also, Joe and I are field testing something cool that we might be trying as a sort of spin-off.
Yes,
as we're making it happen.
Show.
Yes,
and
it's
going to surprise some people and probably make a lot of people laugh, and it will surprise everyone in this room.
Yes,
not with respect to what we end up talking about, probably, but at least with respect to what you expect us to be doing while we're doing it.
Yeah.
Sean and Joe, again, our topic today is privacy missing from most popular blockchain protocols. Privacy missing from most popular blockchain protocols. So I had a specific question for Greg, so I kind of wielded my power.
And by the way,
Jacob,
can I caveat the topic just a little bit? The question I really would have hoped to ask would be not exclusionary of the popularity. Like I don't care about the popularity element. The popularity element I could strike from the quote.
I think it's the most important thing you put in it. I think it's the most important thing you put in it
No.
at all.
Yeah. If you leave most, it gets more powerful, I think.
Let's hear. Okay, I get your point from the syntax point, Greg. But
right.
Satoshi, Sean, what do you say? Why is that the popular is the most point?
Because you're using the word popular when what we all strive for, and what our Achilles heel has been, at least. No, it's our Achilles heel, is adoption, and adoption and popularity kind of go hand in hand. And we've made compromises for adoption with, why are you dealing with these banks and why are you building the same thing? It's for adoption, man. It's for your good, man. And
yeah, and that's the wrong way to frame it.
So I think popularity is what we've all given into.
Right. No, I don't think that's true, though. I don't think that's true. I think that is true of projects that grow too fast before they can handle it. I think projects that last, that actually have their principles about their feet, they scale more slowly, but they stick around.
And are those the popular ones?
Or would you say
the ones that
the popular ones are the ones that probably got into the cycle of repetition in news articles first
and grow fast? Yeah.
I don't really think it was so much the reporting that caused the people to know about the things. I think it was just like repetition learning.
Can you imagine going back in time and just berating Justin Sun for you know what I mean? For announcing an announcement, and now we're sitting here and we're talking about a trailer for a movie, not the movie, and waiting for the trailer to come out. It literally, it's like become the norm that we've watched it happen in real time.
We've just been a couple years. We've been like kind of the whetstone, though, against which the U.S. security state has sharpened its digital claws. Right? If it didn't have us to practice and play at oppression with, essentially.
Yep. Well, we were distracted
in particular, right? Like if you want to call a blockchain a thing, it's an information activist platform.
Yeah, we should have been working on tools that whole time, and a lot of people were. I don't want to say people weren't, but such a small amount of the energy and focus in our industry was actually paying attention to what it should have been paying attention to. And I say that even for the people who are in it for number go up, and I've said this before, if we were focused on the things that this technology could do, the number go up would be unimaginable compared to what it is.
Well, I think all we have left are the people that we're doing that against the current,
Yeah.
And it's probably really more of a matter of timing. Like, I
wonder if that's the thing.
Library was before Dragon Chain because the SEC didn't want to make it look like they were going alphabetically.
Maybe, but that's the thing that in this hell world that we live in, the things that that we should be doing are very typically the things that are very hard to do. The easy things and the things that will tend to get you, more views and more reach is simple stuff, and the stuff that isn't really that helpful. Whereas the hard things they're harder to understand, they're harder to build, and they're harder to get people to, because it's harder to understand, get people to help. And so, one way or another, I think that's just something that anybody who cares about this technology and this industry, we should be looking, seeking out the projects that are building the things that are going to be useful, and, there might be several reasons. You might not care about the money at all, but you care about the privacy tech, and therefore you should be focusing on that. Anyway,
but the truth is the war never really stopped, right? The crypto wars never really stopped.
No,
it's just people pay attention to it now and then, right? Like Bitcoin, the white paper, the working code, that shit. That was somebody taking their turn in a game of chess.
Right.
And if we don't start thinking about it like that, I think that we will have a really hard time keeping privacy around. Just to steer back to the topic.
Yep.
I'm wearing the royal red, and as your emperor, so I might be cutting some of you off, and because there are now 6 of us, I'm asking for you to politely not interrupt others. And next, I would like to go down the list to get everyone's opinion here. Andrew, what do you think? Why do you get into Greg's head and tell me why did he propose this theme, and why do you think it's relevant to today?
Well, I'll comment on something he was talking about earlier. I mean, this predates blockchain wars and stuff like that, the existence of Bitcoin. Back in the 1800s, Lysander Spooner, he created a American Letter Mail Company, right? And he directly competed with the post office. Well, they didn't like that somebody was actually making them compete and forcing them to actually be, flexible and, lower their prices. So they used all the resources they could to drive them out of business. And at the end of the day, yeah, they drove them out of business, but he forced them to admit, yeah, they could have done things cheaper, but they just didn't want to because they lowered the price of the cost to do mail.
Mm-hmm. Zach, what's your thoughts on this topic before we dig into deeper questions?
What's my thoughts on this topic?
And why did Greg propose this? Get into Greg's head.
I think Greg proposed it because it's something that is like in the core of all of us as individuals for millennia. Like we want to be secure in our own person, right? So we don't want anybody messing with us. Obviously, people mess with us all the time. So as far as like in the popular blockchain protocol, the reason that privacy is missing is it's probably one of the hardest things to actually articulate. I mean, regardless on how secure and private, even like Monero, as private as it is, it's still got a public protocol. I mean, the blockchain in itself isn't going to be private. I mean, if it was fully private, then you wouldn't really be able to use it, right? At least for like a medium of exchange specifically.
Sean, what's your thoughts? Get into Greg's head. Why did he propose this, and why do you think privacy is so important?
I think it's kind of like Zach said. It's inherent to our basic desire for individualism. We have to have something private that makes us different than each other, and it goes against everything I think that's American or agorist or anything except for like communism. It seems to be like the collective way of thinking. It's like Borgish, They all look a little different species, but they're all the same, because there is no privacy whatsoever. It's that Borg way of thinking.
Wow, profound.
It wasn't, but you were just waiting for that graphic. All right.
There, I got it out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to wrap up the question here because, Joe, I think you did comment unless there's something else you'd want to say.
I'm good.
Okay, I was going to go back. I'm not going to go back to the beginning of time when we were hunting gatherers and learning how to deal with fire and looking for privacy bush to use the restroom.
I don't know. Look at California. We're still learning how to deal with fire.
Yeah, good one. I'm going to go back to the time of Satoshi Nakamoto and the creation of Bitcoin. The privacy element was really your address, right? And as if nobody knew who the address was.
That was such a psyop. That whole thing was such a fucking psyop. They tricked everybody into thinking of it as private when they should have said pseudonymity, and they should have explained that once you're connected, that privacy shield becomes your tomb. You'll never escape it unless you abandon it.
Because he was looking for something that was much more of an open ledger for everyone to see and to track.
Right.
And he was also looking at,
it was cash is what he wanted.
But his focus was to fix the double spin problem. And so privacy became something further down the line or in thinking.
Right.
First wanted to take care of the privacy, not the privacy.
But it was also more of a reference implementation too, to get the ideas circulating in a way that would inspire folks and inspire things.
And
I really don't think for a second if
scalability-
anybody thinks Satoshi wasn't an open source guy, they're not paying the fuck attention. And if you look at what that fucking means, if you're part of the free and open source movement, which he definitely was,
yeah,
you know, he's in Tim Berners-Lee class, right? He's a guy who did what fucking Tim Berners-Lee did and just like gave away the web rather than charge for it.
I mean,
and,
'cause
and really, yeah.
it was all about encryption too, right? So, but it comes a technical trade-off, the scalability, and the to try to
iteration
scale
one,
and have those transactions to be able to become a force of nature, shall we say, to compete with the banks, et cetera, because I think that's kind of where he was going, and he knew it was in its infant stages.
Well, I don't know though, because I think that you have to take into account whether or not the person looking at the glass is looking at it like somebody who can put together and run a software project, right? Because that's part of the deal too. Like these people have to be gifted engineers and gifted philosophers.
The marketing psyop was
the psyop was convincing.
To trick people to say that Bitcoin was private.
Yeah, or that it was anonymous.
That's what they wanted. Bitcoin and it's private.
They would say it's anonymous too. They love to get them to say it's anonymous because they were just waiting for the day when they could rub in everybody's faces that even the government could break into anonymous systems.
Right.
And they would just misunderstand anonymity.
Right. That was
the law now.
That was definitely the psyop. That's where it was hijacked.
Right. They won so many of those battles over the years before we got wise to what they were up to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I saw a post on X saying that apparently Satoshi Nakamoto had connected to a Canadian centralized exchange early in the development, and that it got bought out. I can't remember what it was on Bitcoin News, but I mean they're looking in to see if they can figure out, because they had know your customer information from that. He could get doxxed. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just something I thought was interesting.
It would be impossible to prove he was him unless you could force him to divulge his private keys.
Right. All right, Jacob. This question's from the great Jacob Wayne. Whoops. I hit the wrong button. My apologies. Let me go back here. Jacob Wayne. Joe, we'll start with you and go down. Question: do you think evildoers have pushed us into these non-privacy forward blockchains for ease of tracking our movements, or have the popular chains risen organically? I'm excited about Xano. Just came down a bit, so I can hodl more of it.
Evildoers. Who's that's a quote from somebody, right? I mean, I don't purposely or not, probably. I mean, at least it seems to be
cowardice,
and not even necessarily privacy itself, but I would say on a number of fronts. I mean, you look at how was Bitcoin hijacked and why. Privacy had to have been a partial component of that, but there were a lot of other pieces as well. They don't want to compete against those technologies, and you can look at how they deal with Monero and how they, when the DEA arrests people, they never mention Monero because they can't get it, right? But they always mention how much Bitcoin they pulled or whatever. If they have crypto specifically, they make a big deal of it. So, I mean, there has to be a little element, and I think after my exposure to this world and first in the early days, just with the obvious drama, and there were a lot of paid people who weren't shills out there to promote a project. There are obviously a lot of those, but there were a lot of people that were paid to come in and create issues, either create drama or to effectively. And there were a lot of big projects, frankly. I think Libra from Facebook was one of them. I think FTX was one of them in some capacity that intentionally created to get framed as a crypto project. I mean, every time I mention FTX, Greg is right. He brings up it's not even a crypto. It wasn't. That wasn't.
It's
a crypto
not a
project.
fucking crypto company.
It was just a fine. But the entire world sees it as like, oh, those crypto guys. They're all crooks.
You had to like get a rubber glove up the
banks.
ass in order to get the right to take your tokens off. The freaking.
And you look at
basically Robinhood.
You look at like J.P. Morgan and how much fraud has J.P. Morgan caused in the world, or that's a horrible company and group, and the fact that people still invest in it and that their stock is not crashed completely, it blows my mind. The people, but anyway, so you have to assume that there's some amount of it in the world, because this world is, there's so much corruption, and this tech can solve a lot of that. But guess what? We're not going to be able to do top down. We're not going to be able to go and get a partnership with Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan. It's going to have to come from below, and it's going to have to come with
That's where the corrupting poison comes in.
Exactly, and they want to maintain it, and they want to control the ability to.
Well, I mean, I guess you could do business with them if you could walk into a negotiating room and tell them that there are no circumstances under which they get to dictate how we do things.
I mean that's some of the compelling news with the Trump administration, is that it's certainly not perfect, but it seems to be a move in the right direction that we need to leverage. It's
this
almost
is why
like
fucking Trump coin was a genius nod to our community.
Yeah,
I gotta say, I've been thinking about that one a lot. People have been wondering why the fuck the man would do that. That was a hat tip.
I hope so.
To the fact that he was going all in on crypto greed, and he didn't care if people were greedy.
Something.
That's a really warm signal to builders to get fucking started now.
On that, and that was the whole basis for John McAfee's thing, is that Trump Coin did that, and with them doing that, and Melania doing that, we felt now safe enough to come out with this with Janet and everything. But I wanted to say this: if you guys know CoffeeZilla,
yes.
Hawk Tua, he's 100% explains it to where it's
she was a trial balloon.
He's knowledgeable. Absolutely. Why it's a terrible, evil thing, and this is evil crypto. Crypto is good. It's that old ad, this is good and blockchain's good, crypto's different, and then it's like there's good projects and bad projects. But Hawk Tua is evil, and then he was like Trump coin evil, blah blah evil, and the last one I forget what coin it was, but it's just a meme coin. And now it's evil because it's a meme coin, because it's just there's no real use case. And now you've gone to now I think he's gone too far. Now it's basically moving to all meme coins and crypto as a scam, which I don't know if that was the goal from the beginning. If it was all a psyop now, if that's how because it's starting to look that way. Yeah. So I'm like, why are you? What are you going off? This team, they made this and they had like 20% of the coin and 15% of the coin. It's a meme coin, man, and it doesn't do anything. And I was like, it's a meme coin, man. You know,
it's also like the occult knowledge of the day. It's the thing that they rule us with.
Can I add something to that too? Because and CoffeeZilla, I've enjoyed his content for quite a while, and he called out FTX, he called out Celsius, he's called out a lot of which is good, and especially the celebrity ones, right? It's great that he's done that. I was always interested in, okay, when you set up something, and if you're a researcher and you put this in, and maybe he had good funding. I don't know where he got his funding, but to go to the level of having CGI steam coming out of his coffee,
I knew that was coming.
Makes me wonder if he had money from some org that wanted to pivot in that way. He could. And by the way, all the USAID stuff coming up when we go to, which I might not be stick around for, but for the current events, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes up where USAID was funding stuff that didn't quite make sense. How did they have such a significant, obvious resources when these, So
can I say something?
Obviously, the regime change arm of the CIA. It's awesome,
right?
Can I say something about USAID?
Go ahead, Zach.
It's the Jizz. I said it.
Oh no, we're gonna get banned.
Front row. And
well, I mean, by the way, I'm gonna offer up something, and just pattern match. This is pattern match.
Go for it, Joe.
You go and you look at any of these projects, and similar things pop up, and you wonder, wait a minute, how is that tight? Wait a minute, and after a while though, when you can't talk about it, you have to wonder.
It's also the DEXs and the fact that there's no interface point. If you wanted to see privacy coins take off, then you have to integrate with something that's got some major liquidity. Like if you want it to really super take off. Like if I were in charge of most of the world's Bitcoin wallets right now, what I would do is as follows to win immediately. I would start giving it away in concentrated amounts on a regular basis to as many people who are first-time holders as possible. Just fucking running around like a publisher's clearinghouse giving out Bitcoin checks. And I would try to find a way to get like...
that never happened, Greg?
With the idea of people just
knew that was
trading
coming.
in that instead.
Yeah, here we
right?
go.
Like, how hard would that be?
You open that
You can price your shit in Bitcoin, man. We've got enough price history.
Greg,
we can go ahead and live without the dollar reference.
Ed McMahon never.
Hold on. Let's hear Sean.
I know that was the fucking FBI, right?
No, that never happened. There was no. They never went around with a check.
They did.
They never knocked on people's doors.
Is that Mandela effect thing?
Hold on.
This is going on.
Maybe.
This is going on right now. Ed McMahon was never going around with checks, knocking on people's doors with a bunch of balloons and stuff.
Why do I think that
check.
then?
I don't know. I thought it too until I was told that never happened. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, that never happened.
The fuck?
Yep.
Oh, it's like the Bernstein Bears, right?
He was one of the spokespeople, but
Boobly Boo Bears. What are you talking about? You mean the Boobly Boo Bears?
No, the Bernstein Bears that everybody remembers never were.
Let's get back on track to the question. Evil doers.
I was more of a gummy bear.
Privacy. Andrew, what's your question? What's your point? Or
narcissists need shame to market against in order to put themselves over and grow and get ahead in life. And cryptocurrencies actually underpin that, in that it removes that power from them because it decentralizes the foundation that they stand on. So no longer is it those people are bad, we need to punish those people. It's they have to answer for the shame that they have to deal with, and that's really incredibly difficult for them because they do not want to acknowledge it all. It's a function of their personality.
True.
Be quick, Zach. Are they pushing us to privacy? Are the evildoers pushing us to privacy blockchains?
Well, I think this quote from the greatest not so great president of the United States kind of sums it up. It's from Theodore Roosevelt. It's not the critic who counts.
Oh God.
It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have been done or could have done the better. I mean, and to Andrew's point, I wouldn't even say narcissism. I would say a step further, it's sociopathy. I mean, and blockchain kind of makes the sociopath scramble. So
good.
We're actually making the strong man stumble.
True. Be brief, Greg. Are the evildoers pushing us to non-privacy forward blockchains?
No, we're pulling ourselves to the things we buy. You can switch now. Like, just stop using the other shit, man. Find out how to get the other things. Go get privacy stuff. Care about it. That's all you have to do. The dumbest fucking trick the anti-privacy activists ever pulled on us to this day is you've already lost your privacy. You haven't fucking already lost your privacy. You have it. If you didn't have it, you'd know.
Everyone knows the loony is going to the moon. Invest in loony.
Right.
Sean, quick. Are they pushing us to the evildoers? Are they pushing us to non-privacy forward blockchains?
I think yes, but I think that it's everything. I think we're coming to like the end. It really is, the end times, because the evildoers aren't really. They're evildoers used to need privacy, and they don't anymore. They can be completely upfront that I'm an evildoer and I want to do this.
Right.
Like that's evil
in our own hearts. We have the most to
fear.
But
we have to do it, and I want to do it. So privacy isn't needed by them, so it's not important anymore. So now they can give it. Now they can take it away from everybody because they don't need it. Well, now hold on. Let me put a caveat. It's like
Okay.
all of a sudden Doge comes out and exposes USAID and other things. Now all of a sudden, hey, hold on. We had it to where we didn't need privacy. And now that's kind of like because they owned the system. And now the system is being shook up to where they can get the masses angry again. Which I'll talk about. I don't know if y'all watched the True Tuesday. Did it by myself because Lisa was sick, but it was crazy to me. I had to do it to go over what I went over, which the mainstream media did not even mention, and it was insane. I think it's all part of like why these countries bent the knee. But yeah, they don't need privacy. They didn't think they needed privacy anymore. They didn't need privacy because they're in total control.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hopefully there'll be a change.
Yes.
But as of now, I think evildoers are absolutely pushing for non-privacy, everything.
Look at Sean.
As your
He's the
emperor,
media now.
drinking from my black chalice here, so you don't know what's inside the cup. I will say that it's a little bit of both. It's maybe more so they're pushing us that way, but I think it's the other way in that it's an incentive because we're seeing the corruption, we're seeing the manipulation, we're learning that they're lying to us, and we want to call them out on it. On the other hand, we also want to maybe protest, but we're still fearful because they still hold the majority of the power. So we look to privacy to be able to maybe speak up or prepare for what's coming in the future.
I don't know if it's really about humans
little
talking privately so much as it's about computers talking privately too, right? Like if you could build truly private networks that weren't under attack because everybody had strong cryptography end to end and there was no way to hack the system because everybody had really simple security interfaces. Right. Why not just put up walls strong enough to like not break down? If you can do that, you no longer need the men with guns.
Right.
That's always been the point.
All right. So we have public restrooms, no stalls, no doors, glass houses, and are always transparent. So the question is, why is privacy important, and why does society not make it a priority in their communications and in their monetary transactions? We'll start with Joe.
Man,
this is a philosophical one that ties into blockchain.
Sorry,
why don't we make
skip me for now? Skip me for now. I'm trying to work on.
You can start at the bottom with me on this one.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm
good,
ready.
good. We'll do that. We'll start at the bottom and work our way to the top.
Scroll up a little bit, back to the picture.
Sure.
Okay.
By the way, I presented this question.
Restroom with no stalls. People like it was a shock for me. And girls don't have. It's not girls, but well, there was one big bathroom in high school that had it, but all anything to do with sports locker rooms, there were no stalls, which I thought was weird as a kid. Especially coming from Europe, where privacy was much bigger deal. The glass house. See, the glass house is so interesting to me. Because it has the look that it is no privacy, but the only and this happened when I was a kid.
The property is the privacy, though.
Exactly. When I was a kid, my mom's best friend was getting married, or no, she wasn't getting married, but a relative was. Anyway, so we went to this huge wedding, and these people owned Kodak, and this is in the late 70s, so they were very rich.
Those poor bastards.
So
they could have done it. They just let other people do
it. But it was in Oregon. It was in the mountains, this huge property, and they had a big mansion, but the entire face of it was glass. You could see in everything, and I thought it was weird because you could, you could see naked people or whatever in there, but you couldn't because they owned like thousands of acres, and no one could come close to their house. This is before everybody had a satellite and everything too, but so. It was not so to see the house and to compare the restroom. That also has to do with the level of power and authority, because it appears that you have transparency, but you don't. Like Greg said, the property is the So it can give the illusion.
I grew up in a house like that, so I understand it very fundamentally.
Yeah.
It's
and
my parents built one of those in Western Kansas, if you can believe it.
Why is privacy important, and why does society make it a priority in their communications? Privacy has become something that people like. It's synonymous with money and power, and now power less or so. But honestly, people see power as with money. You're thinking of like private islands,
but they can't be
a lot of land or property, ways to shield yourself, that kind of thing. In order to be reclusive, which is just really, really private, right. You have to have that money or power.
Greg, why doesn't society make it a priority for communications and monetary transactions?
I think, okay, first off, I do think that people make it more of a priority than they like to let us know. One of their favorite games to play with information channels is to thin out our lines of communication between ourselves. This happens through sort of subtle deboostings and things like that. The people who said the wildest stuff on X still get a limited number of viewers. If you've been a certain kind of truth teller, it doesn't matter that Elon Musk is there, right? It's still the same because they treat your speech as dissident so much that you get shut the fuck up. Like we're talking Alex Jones type stuff, you know. You get the Trump treatment. They were just sharpening some new claws, I guess. And privacy is something I think we've all been fighting for. And I think we need to stop the illusion that we don't have it. I mean, how many people buy iPhones because they may not be perfect from a philosophical standpoint. They're just very easy for grandma to be cryptographically secure with, right? Like we actually value it a lot more than I think we talk about because people have this idea in their head like privacy is criminal. But it's not, right?
Yeah.
It's your fucking fundamental right. It emerges from the fact that you have self-ownership. Right. That's really where the legal and the philosophical meet, but like why don't we seem to want to make it that way? Because we've all been demoralized and we need to just have some fucking courage again.
I want to get with something that what Greg just said, and in that last comment you shared, the young don't understand how important privacy is. But I think people that are more experienced and maybe even had a taste of privacy, haven't grown up the whole time with no privacy. It's becoming more of a. People are gravitating towards it. My refrigerator just broke, and now we're like looking on Craigslist and other places for replacement. And I'm like, hey, see if they'll take half cash and half silver. And my kids and everybody was like, what? I'm not asking someone that. That's psychotic. But if you do, they're like, oh yeah. There's certain like private land sales and stuff. They're like, you can pay with cash, crypto, gold, silver, or any combination.
An interesting to do here would be maybe a counterfactual. We could look at it and say, what would happen right now if the Bitcoin Foundation announced that, or Bitcoin Core announced they were putting in a privacy hard fork, and since they didn't want to announce it too far in the future lest they be disrupted, you have 24 hours until this hard fork. Please prepare immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that would be a dream come true that Bitcoin put in a privacy fork.
But could you imagine what would happen in the centers of power that cared about this debate? What would they do? How would they react to that? What would we gain back?
They'd shut it down.
Probably.
I think that
we need to move on, gentlemen.
No. This is.
It's like the Trump saying to take over Gaza. That would force.
No, you guys realize that once that
conversation
is out there, a private version of Bitcoin is out there that everybody already holds, then it's game over. They can't control it anymore. Everybody's just trading anonymous cash again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Zach, why do people not hold it as a priority?
I'm going to piggyback on what Greg said about self-ownership. In our society today, and with this fallacy that we have this social contract that we have to bestow, nobody understands what privacy means because nobody understands that you own yourself. And we have to have this collective conscience that everybody is in it together. So I've been watching a lot of First Amendment auditors lately just to kind of get educated a little bit. But it goes to that standard. Like nowadays, you can't even walk out onto a public sidewalk without somebody calling the police. And then they expect everybody as a collective in the community expects you to cooperate with the police. But ignoring the fact that you have a Fifth Amendment.
Right, and they don't mean cooperate either. They mean comply with the police.
Yeah.
Comply, cooperate. It gets
and that's
co-opted.
Oftentimes the appropriate and polite thing to do if you're in that situation. You really kind of ought to consider it, is the thing.
Right.
But
I mean,
and I've had interactions with the police where I'm like, dude, I really do appreciate you, but I just, you know, I can't give up the right there. Then I feel like I'm the ass. I feel like then you would be like a jackboot, and you don't want to be that. That's not why you started your job. I mean, I'm completely open with them. You know, they're like, come on, man, I just need this for what? It's like, let me take.
Well, and that's why there's a big difference between like crypto regulation and protecting people from murder, right? Because it's a different kind of level of applied force in order to impose the regulation, right? It goes from government arrest these people trying to rip me off to government never let an industry begin that doesn't already have a yoke round its neck, lest case they disrupt what's mine. And so everything needs fucking regulation. It's that mindset.
I think we're being pushed to
we're promoted to believe.
I think we're being pushed to a nexus point with this. You know, with I mentioned the California fires. There's so many people that I've seen videos. They're trying to go home just to see if their house is there or what's left, and the National Guard's like, "You can't go, man. I'm sorry."
I know.
And then he's like, "Hey, man, I just want to know if anything's there. If I just want to see my house." And they're like, "Hey, man, you're preaching about you're not letting me go to my own property that I own. That's like 300 yards away. You're stopping. You're the military. Do you see what you're doing?" And the military's like, "Yeah, dude, I understand. I'm just following these orders. I don't. There even some of them are like, I don't think this is right, but it's what I have to do. I'm sorry." And
exactly,
we're at that point where some of them are going to be like, man, fuck it. I'm
some Bitcoin wills though seriously need to go.
We're going to get into what Sean just talked about. We're going to get into what Sean just talked about there about people are getting to a boiling point and it's going to pop. But let's finish this question and try to get through them because we're already 52 minutes in and we got, I think, 2 more questions that are going to bring to Sean's point just now. Andrew, why do people not hold privacy, in their forefront?
I'm gonna defer to Lysander Scooter and no treason to Constitution, no authority, and put a little quote here. It's just still another of the
I think people are just gay, Andrew.
That they are now establishing that the Revolutionary War was designed to establish a government of consent. The only idea that has ever manifested what a government of consent is this: that is one to which everyone will consent or be shot. This is the idea that dominated the war, Revolutionary War, and it was carried on, and it's number one now that we have gotten what is called peace. And let me
I didn't sign shit.
I didn't know Andrew was gay. How's everyone gay Andrew? How's everyone gay Andrew?
The social contract was a broken idea to begin with. It's weird that it's been resurrected. Like it's a really old philosophical idea that's been bypassed, man.
Let Andrew finish, please.
He speaks of universal security in his works, and that what he talked about. He's saying you wouldn't have enough people to throw everybody in jail because the people that were in jail will be jailing other people, and then it'd be a constant revolving door. That's what happened in the USSR. They had one monetary system where everyone was on the same page, and you didn't have any option to leave. They mix the population, they suppress your voice, and you have no freedoms. You have to wait until somebody says, "We don't do this. This is not who we are." And that took decades for Stalin to die. And there was even up to the chance that it wouldn't happen. Somebody else who was as radical or more radical than Stalin could have took over.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, that goes back to the evildoer question. Literally.
Really good.
Yeah.
Joe.
Point.
Literally Joe. Hitler.
Let's try not to interrupt everybody. Joe, let's go.
Very important. Okay, so this is an interesting thing, and it's a very good question. I think there's a lot of manipulation, and there's a lot. This even goes outside of crypto. Why is it, as you would expect? Let's say, and this has happened to so many companies, banks, retail outlets, Target, back in the day, that they'd have these massive privacy issues where they collected all, and by the way, it was a venture capital Facebook model that we had to collect as much. I remember back in the mid 2000s that if you were building any application with software, every angel, every VC you would talk to would they would demand that you followed this Facebook model where you're collecting as much information, private information as possible. Why? Because they weren't selling the actual product. They're selling your info, and that's all they were doing. And
or hoarding it in preparation for the future.
And Zach has, Zach's, all of it was directed from that angle, that it was, they want you to collect all this information so that they can sell it later and guarantee that you're making money for their investment. And it's a disease. It's absolutely a disease. And the fact that people they didn't wake up to it. It's like, you know what? If you're going to collect my information and you're going to handle it like that, I'm not going to do business with you anymore. That's what people should do. And they don't. Their stock never dropped. They'd have these massive leaks of, and essentially it's a honeypot of information that someone can come in and steal.
Exactly.
To either embarrass them or leak them. But why in God's name does the stock price not fall? Why? Because the entire system is diseased. You have 401ks.
Well, there's so much
where the
beta,
people who have the money in there that's holding that stock price is maintained because I don't want to pay taxes on my income. So I put it into a 401k that I don't even fucking control. So they have their money in those companies that have these huge security breaches, and it never actually affects the company. The disease is spread from the foundation, like the entire system is diseased. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, if we turn off the spigot, though.
Model. Yeah, and that's why we need to upend that whole thing.
The shit's going to wither.
I think it also
now that the money spigot's off.
If the Fed goes away, if the income tax goes away, a lot of this, it might not be totally cured, but a lot of this will go away because all of a sudden you won't need a 401k. If you can actually get your whole paycheck and invest it in the way you choose.
Money should go up in value over time, not down.
You might put it into Bitcoin Cash. You might put it into Xano. You might decide to build your own damn project. All of a sudden, the real world will come to light, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this, and it actually worked because I didn't have to hack my way through. And by the way, this is every fucking thing in the world. I worked at Disney, and it used to annoy me to no end that the entire system is built around people hacking the system. It's like, you can't just go in and enjoy the park with your family. You have to go online and figure out all the tips and tricks on how to enjoy the park. I'm like, wait, is that really what I want to do? Do I want to put my family up so they can go and find all of the fast pass stuff and make sure that we schedule everything? It's like, no, I want to ride a ride. I want to ride a ride that the kid wants to ride. That's how it should be set up. But no, they set it up in this freaking complex, stupid way, built so that if you don't have
Disney Junior Management Training,
it is
whatever happened to it.
And you could look,
whatever happened to be spontaneous.
Miles. You look at airline miles. They aren't giving airline miles to the people who are actual loyal customers of that airline. They're giving airline miles to the people who sign up for the credit cards that make money for that airline. It's like, I don't want to fucking sign up for a credit card so I can get 1,000 free miles. That's not how the world should work. Mm-hmm. And Wall Street, accountants, and I'm not going to say the other word. Zach can repeat it for me. That's the issue with this entire system, right? That is the issue, and we need to be aware of it so that we can put our resources where we actually should put them. So,
I'm safe. I'm safe, guys. See, yeah. It's the juice.
I think Joe hit the nail on the head with why the stock doesn't go down. I think it's because it's operating the way it's supposed to.
Well,
I look at the history of Zuck, of social media. Look at it this way, and this is a kind of like a big realization that I had. Joe Rogan said, there's like probably 5 or 6 Epstein Islands. They're still going on. This was one.
Oh,
But this
yeah.
is just a monetary
On
phenomenon.
a smaller scale,
Yeah,
social media was our regular folks Epstein Island. Nowadays, after it's come to fruition after like a decade, 10 years of it, that, I want to have this position. I want to get this power. And they go like, 7 years ago, you said this without privacy on social media. Right. 12 years ago, you said this.
Right.
And they're like, dude, I was drunk. I just smoked some weed with this chick that I was trying to get with. Man. And that was an idiot thing. How do you have that? They're not going to say that. Mm-hmm. But literally, I think it's become or set up as a honeypot. The way they think is not for now, for tomorrow. It's like 10, 15 years down the road. Well, we can get these people saying all types of crap. For years, I still don't understand why friends of mine will say the things they say on social media, and then they take it down after 6 hours or a day.
Doesn't matter though. The company still has it.
It's there.
No, the company still has it. They don't delete your entries in the database. That doesn't happen. They archive those tapes, right? These people have been trained to store this. They call it the data play, literally in the industry. Everybody who has one they can make apparently ought to be preserving it if you want to be funded by a certain venture capitalist, right? And that is where it starts to get shady ethically. That's where you get a Sam Bankman-Fried.
You may
derivative company.
All right, I'm going to cut you guys off.
You're joking. You're making a joke that's like, in 10 years ago, you may have posted a joke that was racist or racy, and now that could be brought up in your Senate confirmation hearing. Why did you say that? Well, that was a joke. Oh, you think it's funny? Well, 10 years ago I did, but what do you say? I would just say, my friend grabbed my phone and he posted it. I took it down.
10 years ago, it was politically correct.
I would just say something like, I plead the 5th of Jack.
All right, everyone, we have just 2 questions left. We just hit the 1 hour mark. I want to move on to current events, but so let's try to be quick with our answers. I am going to forgo my answer to the last question for the interest of time. So your emperor is being generous. All right, the image is a government official looking through a transparent blockchain. Question: what are the risks associated with using non-private blockchains for funding protest movements? This is an easy answer, but it's the spark. It's the spark thought for the normies out there. Joe, let's start with you.
We should have the Canadian truckers here to answer that.
Yeah, Joe, let's start with you. Please don't interrupt everybody. Quick answer.
Mute. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Joe.
Sorry. I was typing a lot. Risks associated with using non-private blockchains for funding protest movements. It's strategic risks. If there's some necessity that powers that be don't know that some protest movement is planning some event or something like that. It's useful for that purpose to use some element of privacy itself. I don't know. Is this related to the recent comments by Musk about what about putting all federal and I think putting all federal events, not
that's
just
a great
spending
idea,
events, right? It needs to be every email, it needs to be every text message, it needs to be every meeting calendar, it needs to be every obviously policy statements, it needs to be everything that's published. It needs to be all of that stuff needs to be on chain, even the stuff that has to remain private.
Do you think he could get it done by threatening the entire government with what's already in their Twitter DMs that he has total control over? You could just say it's either that going on chain for the public or this, and you'll just watch bureaucrats roll over and bow to somebody who's just asking them nicely, which technically, the way they're designed, they're allowed to do. They just don't usually do it as readily.
Right. Zach, what's your answer to this question?
Andrew.
I'm sorry, Andrew. Andrew.
That's all right. I think about it this way. Okay, Summer of Love, we had the protests. A whole police department gets burned down. They put cinder blocks in the streets just showing up randomly, right? Okay, yeah, that's the risk for a planned situation. The risk, the counterfactual counter risk, is if somebody sees the opportunity and goes, "Oh, I'm going to be killdozer up in this bitch," and it has like 20 killdovers on standby waiting for something. They go and focus on something like the IRS building, right, up in Washington. That's They don't expect that because they're focused on this plan.
Right.
Don't block my driveway.
That's right, Zach.
The issue would be the significant risk would be just like the Canadian truckers got their bank accounts frozen, or just like anybody with a 401k who needs to get some sort of hardship has to go through hoops and bounds and may never get their funds of their money. The issue would be they can co-opt it, they can hijack it, they can take control of your keys, especially if you're on the overt market of say Coinbase with a custodial wallet. They can easily just take it, diminish it, and you have nothing. So, I mean, that would be the risk associated with utilizing these non-private blockchains if you were to protest against your lovely government.
Greg.
Yeah. Boring technical answer, actually, is what I'm going to say. The more I think about it, I think this is the right one. You can totally operate very, very carefully and know what you're doing by understanding what's in the documentation and what you shouldn't do, because you have like this principled understanding that if they find your current blockchain account just one time, you either have to abandon it and lose everything that's associated with it, or be forever connected and monitored by them, because you won't be able to break the chain of custody between that wallet and everything you've ever done with it.
That's right.
They will see your whole history searchable, laid bare. And privacy coins, what they do is they make it very cheap for you to move all that over to a new wallet. They can't do anything but kill one at a time if they want to unmask you. You can always send it to another private wallet privately. And that's why they won't waste their time, because they would be stupid to try. It would cost like a fucking moon landing to get just one. And they could cheer about it in the media, but they never catch it. Like basically how they caught Ross Ulbricht was a similar activity, where they threw everything at it for like half a decade and finally cracked the guy from like a phishing attack, basically.
Good point. Sean, what's your answer?
I think you guys have hit on it with certain terms of the powers that be. And so here's the risk. One, like the Canadian truckers, they can shut it down, but they could change. The biggest thing to me, and that we've seen with the powers that be, is they change. They change in ways now like those countries, not like America, not like Western. It's now like those, where the shift is so radical that you could go for like BLM. Literally, they could say BLM is a terrorist organization. So now all of those companies and altruistic, nice people and whoever, they funded a terrorist organization. Under the law, that's gray. Any good prosecutor can take a charge, bring it down a couple notches, and they'll get them. They'll get their money at least. They'll get them, their record in trouble, or they, the goal could be so that they can't own a firearm. There's so many things that they could do with that information. So it's everything that the powerful don't want: the transparency, the permanence, how it can't be changed. But what can be changed is the powers that be. And then all of a sudden, all this information is there, and they can use that against you by just changing whoever's in office.
They can also lie to you about it being gone too, and it's not really. So there's that. How would you ever know?
My answer to the question is I think the best case is that we've already mentioned is the Canadian trucker protest, when they put up a GoFundMe page and everyone was sending money in from their bank accounts. The government knew exactly who sent the money to who and to where, and they went back out. It was like fingers going back out and freezing these accounts. So protesting and funding protests by against your government is is just asinine to use dollars that can be tracked or Canadian dollars or what have you.
Well,
So
I mean,
it's just
at the very
ridiculous to
least-
think in those terms. So that's why we need blockchain. That's why we need privacy. That's why we need alternative methods to communicate. And hey, we're going to all go to protest over here at this park, or we're all going to go protest on this street corner, and these kinds of things, because they're going to track those communications as well. They want you to use your debit card, your credit card. That's what they want. Privacy isn't simple. It's not easy. It's much harder to cash out money off your debit card to an ATM and use that cash for your expenditures. It's more cumbersome. It's not as easy.
It can be really easy if we shape our rules around it, though.
Correct. And we start making that the norm. So moving on to the next question.
One more thing about shaping the rules, like Greg just said, the law is so confusing that things can switch in an instant. Like with the LA riots, I don't know if you knew this. It was a shock to me, but there's like thousands of people there rioting, or not rioting, but protesting. And then a police helicopter went overhead and said, they just said, this is an illegal gathering. Disperse. And then everyone was breaking the law. And they could arrest people. Yeah. They couldn't arrest anyone for protesting. It's America, blah, blah, blah. But the second that happened, everybody was in trouble.
Same question.
Well, but it's also the optics they're looking for, right? Because the way that works is it gets into media and makes more people pissed. Mm-hmm. Where people are just like, look, it's going down. We got to go now. Right? It's a cascade effect. It's the whole point of the sort of dark case for accelerationism. Right?
It's critical that
it's headed there whether we want it or not, so we might as well not go kicking and screaming and get our upper lip stiff.
It's critical that we start thinking in terms of the government is working against us, and we need to start turning the tide, either internally or externally. And that's going to require planning. It's going to require steps, a process. It's going to require parallel systems, parallel networks. And just like, Romania, parallel systems is really, and networks is what brought it, down the tyrannical government of Romania and a lot of your other Eastern Bloc countries, was because they became much more powerful or much more efficient than the government ever could be or was at the time. And people flocked to those systems. And I believe that is in the cards for us. That's where we're going to go. And that's why privacy is extremely important. So, next time you go to the restroom and wipe your butt, that is perfectly legal. The door on the door to your restroom was perfectly legal. You're not doing anything illegal. And when these people say, well, I'm not doing anything illegal, so therefore I don't need privacy,
oh god, wrong. That's the dumbest fucking thing on the Facebook. You don't need. So privacy is a lot like the argument they tried to make about vaccines when they tried to take your privacy to force them into you. Mm-hmm. They fucking
medical tyranny.
No, if you give up your privacy, it is no longer anybody's.
Right,
is the problem.
Yeah,
right.
You owe your like, you don't know what to do with privacy. There's somebody who does, and it may only be like a percent of the population. But if you don't all defend it, then those people will never have a fucking snowball's chance in hell, right? Like, we have to all protect our privacy because some people have good ideas what it's for, and it does good when we do it.
Right.
Like, that's why the First Amendment protects computer code as speech now, because a bunch of people fucking printed a program in a book so they could strategically get fucking sued by a judge. And that's why the precedent in the United States is that. This nation state is powerful. All we have to do is win in court. And we've got a juggernaut for this principle. Right. This is how the government ought to be used if we're going to have one at all. Or we should abolish it, right?
Good point. Great point. All right, we're going to move on to current events. But before I do, I'm going to call just a little audible on my own here. We have Czar15 wants a quick answer, please. Answer, help us. Whoop. Yeah, privacy coin. He wants to know what everyone thinks their favorite privacy coin. And because he did not answer this on Den.Social, or ask this question on Den.Social, but he is a loyal watcher, listener, and active commenter in the stream, I thought we'd bring it up. I'm going to go. So let's go real quick. Give you your quick answer to what's your favorite privacy coins. Don't get into the whys. We don't have time, so we can move into the current events. I'm going to say Monero, Xano because it's using Monero's protocols basically, and it's for tokens versus a currency. And I quite honestly, I like all of them, even the ones that have added it on after the fact, like Bitcoin Cash did in 2018, like Litecoin did in 2022, and so forth and so on. So there's they gave you those options. Joe, what's your favorite? What are your favorites?
I would say Monero, and I like Xano. I like all of them. Any of them that pop up. I have to tell you, I don't hold any of them, although I should. I just don't have time anymore. And speaking of privacy,
is not private. This is not financial advice.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Good point.
Nor is it an admission one way or the other that any of us here do or do not own privacy coins, actually.
What's really interesting is that I'm banned from purchasing or selling or interacting on almost every exchange in the U.S. I have a non-fraud SEC case against me, and I can't purchase on Coinbase. I can't purchase on Binance.
Right.
I can't purchase on I can't purchase on. There are a couple of that I haven't.
Wow. Joke, man. How is there not a stay on that shit while you go through the trial? That's common sense, at least.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Lawfare.
Well, they're private companies.
Yeah,
they can decide what they want.
Fucking lawfare system.
Yeah, they can decide what they want. Yeah,
what they want.
And the government can make sure that they have gag orders on the
Andrew,
things that ask them to do that.
You got any privacy coins that you like?
Each privacy coin has its trade-off. Zcash, you can do a regular public transparent, or you can have shielded transaction, which is private. Dash, it's public or private, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've looked into these. But you have to pay a part of every transaction to the development costs. And Monero, it's the way it's structured. If you use a public, like sync with the public over a public instead of sync it to your computer, the blockchain to your computer directly, but outsource, you always run the risk of somebody being, operating and getting caught by somebody, a bad actor, running a public syncing node.
Zach.
My favorite is diversification. I'm diverting. So diversification, anything. Gold, silver, food, ammo, Monero, Xano, Zcash, whatever. Banking in another country, going the nomad capitalist route, utilizing multiple banks in different countries rather than sticking to one nation and their banking system. It's all about diversification, in my opinion, and that's how you keep your privacy. You keep moving, and you stay local within your individual level.
Amen, brother. All right, Greg.
Well, first off, just a matter of strategy for people who are learning privacy tactics. If you do own a privacy coin, you should think very carefully about how you answer this question, because there's a lot of ways it could go, right? Like, you could pretend to yourself, basically, that you don't hold any. You say, oh, I don't hold those. Do you come out against them if you do, and you want to keep people off your tail? Creating obfuscation is just a general good operational tactic if you're already handling privacy coins, because while hard to dox yourself, you can, and so that, and they do go after people they manage to dox, because they really don't want those coming to popularity. My favorite is Zcash, though, because you can get it straight off of Gemini.
Oh, okay.
And they let you send it shielded from the exchange, so you don't even have to do a double hop.
Nice.
So you can basically buy shielded Zcash there, and they have pretty light KYC to get off of the exchange.
Probably
too.
still
So
good
right
idea
now
to
it's
do
just a
double hop
practical
anyway.
matter. It's probably my favorite, even if I'm not buying it and I'm buying something else, because I don't want anybody to know what I'm really up to.
I had my paper
That's privacy
wallet
coins.
in Palisades, California, and Yeah. Well, you know what happened.
My boat.
Sean.
I actually was going to make a joke about one of the original privacy coins. I looked it up, and it's not. It's not around anymore. Bitcoin Dark. There was a fork that was supposed to be private, but it's not around. I liked Horizon when it came out. Then Zcash, Monero. I thought that was one of the biggest, coolest things about Dash was the privacy, and then they got kind of taken over. So, and also, I don't own any privacy coins because, like the social media comment, what if 3 years from now it's illegal, and like anyone that ever had any, obviously is an adversary of the state. So yeah. Oh, it's like, and also it's not. It seems counterintuitive, at least, or productive, to be about privacy coins and then say you have lots of privacy coins. Keep it private. But there's also, like we talked about, coins that have privacy features, and they're not thought of as privacy coins, which I think that my dream would be that it becomes important enough to people to be able to have a successful, like peer-to-peer, like Litecoin or something like that you need to put in some kind of privacy features if you want to be successful, because if not, people won't use it.
My dream is that Trump coin becomes a privacy, a Trump meme coin becomes a privacy coin. All right, there we go.
Yeah, anybody can really be a privacy coin as long as you stay pseudo anonymous and
Joe,
don't.
Thank you for
too much.
popping in and giving us your 2 cents.
Yep.
We enjoyed your rant.
If you're okay with it, check out the sign the open letter. It's on X. If you go to Dragon Chain on X, and also use the new tool to generate content to send letters to your congressperson.
Dude, this is cool.
We found it's actually really, really valuable and useful to get very specific, accurate information for whoever you're trying to talk to, and it's helpful. And it's a big part of what we're doing for the case to raise awareness. So
great.
Thanks a bunch, everybody.
It's pre-tuned to like connect Dragon Chain.
No problem.
So
We got a Den.Social meeting at 2 p.m. Hopefully you can make it, Joe.
I think I can. Hopefully.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Let's move on. Thanks again, Joe. Let's move on to current events. I don't think anything's happened in the world here recently. I kind of think, I know there were some press conferences, but I think that was just, men's room, bathroom, down the hall to the right. The room's kind of full. Make sure you know your exit doors. I think that's pretty much all the news of the day.
I'd like to bring up what I did the Truth
How about the
Tuesday
fact
about.
Yes, John, let's open it up for you.
Okay, so Truth Tuesday, I talked about this. This was a crazy idea. It was nuts, and no mainstream like media really brought it up. And I talked about how we had 9/11, which was a big story, but one of the biggest stories of like 3 or 4 years was the fact that Dan Quayle misspelled potato. Okay, so if something happens with in politics, and a narrative can grab onto it, they're going to go with it. But this nobody talked about. So do you know Senator Lee put forth a proposal to create letters of marque for U.S. citizens to become privateers.
Let's fucking do this.
See, there you go. Which people don't know what that means.
Give me the letter of marque. I want to be a privateer.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
he was selling it, man. He said this has been used for thousands of years, and I said we've also used to thousands of years ago married our cousins when they were 12. It's not a regular thing. So it's where it's usually used with when a country's at war with another country, or at least at odds. And it basically gives you the right to be a pirate and break the law. So if you're a regular citizen, you own a boat, and you're English, and English is at war with Spain, you have a letter of piracy, a privateer, or a letter of marque, you can go blow up that ship and take all their stuff. It's completely legal. Mm-hmm. And then when you go back to Britain, they get a cut, you get a cut. It's great. Bounty hunters. Now, in the United States, there's also Missouri and some other states are looking at giving bounty hunters like $1,000 or whatever to turn in illegals. To go out and grab an illegal, go drop them off, get $1,000. That I could see coming. But the letter of marque, and he explained it. That's that crazy thing. It wasn't. There was no hidden. He said, so you go across the border, and if kill some cartel, you take whatever they have. Usually, you take their gold, their silver, their vehicles, and whatever. You take their stuff. If you make it back, if you can make it back to the U.S., then you would split that. We would have what's called it's like a prize court or something. It sounded adorable and lovely. And then we'd set a price, and then you get all that money. And he goes, and then I was like screaming at the TV, what about the drugs? It's illegal. And then but they brought it up to his credit. It was only on the Blaze that I saw this. And he goes, what about drugs? Well, drugs, obviously, we can't, have you sell that. So, but we have to find a fair market price.
Oh, the CIA needs to sell
find a fair market price and then pay you for that. So I'm thinking, literally, like I could get the letter of marque, go across the border, invade another country. I mean, remember that. Go kill some people, take their, a truck full of fentanyl, full of whatever, come across the border, and a local county deputy pulls me over and is like, hey, your taillight's out because there's a bunch of bullet holes in the back of this truck. What is in there? Oh, this is 5 kilos of pure fentanyl. I think this is heroin. He goes, oh, well, then you're going to be under arrest. He goes, hold on. I got this letter from my mom. It's, I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? That literally was on the table. And I think under, the reason why it wasn't reported, but I think that when Mexico saw, oh my God, that guy's crazy. If this is a real possibility, we're sending those troops to the border, no problem.
I have a disagreement though with the way that it would be used, because in today's day and age, unlike 17th, 18th century, we start giving out letters of marque to just random citizens. You're talking about going in and invading another country or evading the criminal element of another country inside their country that are militarized. Like the cartel are ready. They're ready. I mean, you're going to be coming with your own arms, of course, but
it's your choice,
have military grade. You'll probably be.
I swear this is a real quote. This is a real quote, dude. It's a real quote. Well, hey, I can see how much cheaper that would be, and we wouldn't be putting our military in harm's way.
Right.
And then I thought, you're not going to
send volunteers.
You're not going to send the people who are trained to do this and not hurt civilians. You're going to send Bubba and his cousin, which is.
Well, but we used to send Al Capone. That's the thing, too. This is another actually good point about privacy, right? If we had strong privacy instead of a mass surveillance system called the income tax, he would have kept on protecting America's strength at home a lot more than the feds could.
That's true.
We honestly should have embraced that and worked to tame their rough edges around other things. As a moral, it should have been a harm reduction strategy, because those guys actually probably did I hate to say it, a net public good relative to the way our own border defense does it without them.
And I made the point about Capone because
we have no organized criminals here.
My friend up in Canada, his family made their wealth from being the ones that sold the whiskey to Capone. And I was thinking, if the U.S. had letters of marque, people would just been invading Canada and blowing the shit out of the booze and taking it, which the government could have so much that they basically could have cornered the market after Prohibition and just sold booze.
Point of fact, your pirates used anarchy as their form of organization.
Pirates were left, and very states made those people usually.
And democracy too. They used democracy.
Pirates were seriously lawfare. They were. It was like a small business arena, but they used murder and burning. right, instead of code and projects like the old Web 2 stuff does, piracy.
No, I didn't.
Andrew, you ready to join forces with the other 4 of us here and go into the cartel? Stronghold?
I'm gonna go the old
shit?
school way. I'm gonna register with the church, and they say I have the right to travel. They'll obviously license out the right to do business.
Like that idea.
I don't know how they're gonna feel about cocaine, but hey, I mean, what they don't
They'll be
know
fine with it.
I think they should bolster the Border Patrol with an opportunity for citizenship for service.
To Andrew's point right there, actually, that's how a lot of the cocaine does get into this country, is registering with churches and going on missionaries.
Oh my God!
It says in the Bible, do business.
No, I think most.
I didn't think it was a letter of marque thing until Zach started
citizenship
talking.
for anybody who blows the cover on a cocaine.
But I could see the letter of marque being given to like
open announcement.
That like devs and hackers.
No.
I can see. I like the idea. I like the idea of bringing back letters of marque. I just don't think it's going to be tangible in today's day and age unless you have an organized force, like more organized bounty hunter system. Because if you just give it to Joe Smo, then you're just basically sending Joe Smo to die, which means, or to be unalive. And at that point, well, maybe it would be a good thing. Maybe natural selection would be cured into political policy.
Yeah.
I feel like if you got them to help secure the border,
I'm going to kind of roll from this topic into the next topic, and there's a bridge. Rather than churches and missionaries bringing drugs across the border, it was actually money paid from USAID to grow, poppies in Afghanistan and fertilizer for poppies in Afghanistan for all your heroin and cultivation that was happening in Afghanistan. It was all USAID money,
to make sure that
as well as USAID money to overthrow. What was it? RFK Jr. said 83 governments around the world. CIA and USAID money, including 2014 Ukraine.
I was going to say, yeah.
So let's go to the USAID conversation. That must.
Also, what about the $100 billion?
These people are like drug dealers flushing their ice account down the damn toilet. Like they're like, the federal DMs, delete. That's why it went away.
I think also
he was probably knocking on the door, going, "Come on, open up."
Zelensky just threw everybody under the bus.
Oh, he did, John. He did.
He said, "Hey, man, they said they sent 175 billion. We only got 70 billion. So I don't know what happened with the other." And that reporter, to their credit, said, "Oh, then who stole it? Not where did it go? Not." She was like, "Oh, then who stole it?" And he's like, "I don't know, but it wasn't us. We didn't get it.
It never arrived. That means it happened over there."
Yeah, but also about Zelensky, no one is bringing up the fact that he came over and he dealt directly with Biden when Biden was at his worst, and people are starting to talk about how bad he was. And that man took money from him. That's the worst. That's literally going to a dementia patient, being like, just sign this check there, Grandpa. Thank you. Yeah. And taking their money. Biden literally called him Putin in a press conference. He knew. You could see in his face. He knew what was going on. He's like, fuck, man, I'm a dick, but I'll take this guy's money. God. No one's holding his feet to the fire on that one.
We owe the Russians a fucking apology, man.
It is. It's bad. It's bad. He abused an old guy.
Seriously, like if we could just like cut the presidency out of it and the whole fucking thing, I've got a big fucking sorry for what my government did to you guys for any Russian who I run into. Honestly,
no kidding.
It's such fucking bullshit.
How about Gaza?
And it was all our fucking fault. We agitated the goddamn thing.
How about Gaza?
All you had to do was listen to the news and have a memory in order to realize that.
To be honest with you, when I travel outside of the country, I always think of watching my back, not because of maybe I don't know the area or I don't know the kind of like street smarts. It's more of, hey, doesn't he look like an American? Go get him.
Dude, did you ever see that thing where they literally took
around the world?
So the turn of the new year, that meme that was going around where the fucking COVID needle guy stepping out the door and in the other side.
Yeah,
is the support the Ukrainians, freedom and democracy or whatever. It was like we went from vaccine fury to like vaccine fever and derangement syndrome to immediately into Ukraine derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
And it took them 3 months of that shit to start a war. It was like, early November, we just started rolling our fucking tanks right up to the border we could legally roll them up to as NATO. And we did not command that, obviously. We run NATO, obviously. Like, anybody who doesn't
Star
think
15, we need to have that quote played at like all the time whenever there's any news story or anything about government waste. Just Judd Hurst. You don't think they really pay $10,000 for a hammer, $50,000 for a toilet seat, do you? It's perfect.
Actually,
Yeah.
To bring up,
there's a theory that the Independence Day world was in fact a hyperinflationary future.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question on the topic of the day. News media: is Gaza going to become the new Las Vegas?
No, but
was that crazy last night or what?
That was insane. But
Trump's working stage magic in this direction.
The perfect quote that it was a dad move.
Something he doesn't want us paying attention to.
He said it's like two kids fighting over the remote, and they're like, oh, and then dad just comes in, takes the remote. It's like, no, you're not watching TV. I got the remote now. And they're like, oh crap, man, I didn't want dad involved. So Trump did this.
Dude, he's bought some fucking goodwill with the rest of the world.
Every Arab country,
like,
we're not taking any of these citizens. We're not taking any Palestinians. We don't want them in our country. You guys, you keep it over there, Israel and Palestine. It's your thing. We're not helping. Now all of a sudden, they're like, whoa! America's going to have a permanent place in our house.
Right?
No. Hold on. Let's talk. Maybe we can help a little.
Let's talk. Yeah.
So I think now conversations are being had with Saudi Arabia, with Jordan, with Egypt. They're like, okay, maybe we can help a little. Maybe we can work something out. Please don't make this fucking Las Vegas in our.
All this shit makes way more sense if you just go out and read The Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I think the rhetoric of it might actually be like the art of the deal. Like, it could be that actually something good does come out of this with the refugees, but I think something that is really truly planned is coming out of this as well, and that is to clear Gaza of everything and prep it for the reserves that they have, the oil and the gas reserves that Gaza has underneath.
Exactly, that's where
we should have been doing that. But we should have been doing that from the fucking beginning. The sick part is it took us this long to get here because we let them bar the gates while they literally made the rubble bounce for like 4 weeks longer than necessary to level the whole fucking place.
We let Israel commit to their own ethnic cleansing. When instead we should have stepped in and said, "Hey, hold on."
We turned our information weapons to make sure that the world didn't talk about it.
The 5 of us paid for that,
or at least we couldn't hear them here.
It fucking pisses me off.
Me too.
It fucking pisses me off. It's an embarrassment. Like I said, when I travel abroad, it's an embarrassment, and it's like I got a target on my back because we funded and we provided the weaponry for this mass genocide, and. God.
But the other thing too here is Glenn Greenwald.
Like when I used to come in and say, "Hey man, we killed a bunch of kids. I feel bad about it. You guys feel bad you killed those kids this weekend?" And everyone's like, "What are you talking about? Oh, in Yemen, those bombs. We killed those kids."
Mike Benz.
Like, yeah, I heard the military. No, you did it. You killed them. We paid for it. Those are our bombs. And when you push people to take responsibility, they're like, they get pissed.
Yes, go ahead, Greg.
Have you guys watched the Glenn Greenwald interview with Mike Benz?
Yes.
On this?
I have not, no.
Okay, you're talking about the one he did like about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was literally talking about how... No, it's the one he did right after the USAID thing was announced. Like after that blew up.
I haven't seen that one.
It's relatively... There are 2 clips, and he literally talks about how, from his vantage point of the State Department, he knew it worked because he had to interface with it. Because his role at State was... managing the stable of what they called like something like A players or all-stars or winners. He was like who Google would call when he wanted a favor from the State Department. And that was his vantage point with USAID. So he talks about how they used it as a weapon very eloquently. Let's put it that way.
I heard a quote about USAID. And it was it may have been Musk, but I think it was someone else. But they said, watch whoever's screaming the loudest, because those are the criminals. Who's the most mad? And wasn't it weird to see Netanyahu that happy? He was jumping up and down like a kid at Christmas that got a new GI Joe. He was like, he jumped up and down and he pounded the podium, and he said, "This man is the greatest friend Israel's ever had." I was like, dude, it's a war. Chill.
So the interesting thing from Mike Benz, though, was he was saying how they would just turn it on again if they needed it again. So technically Trump has the power to turn the weapons of regime toppling back on.
Right.
And just let them go back at it. Right. He could threaten to do that. He may be able to convince them that he'd take the hit at home for the sake of hurting them if they fucking screw him over. That's a lot of power. There's probably also a lot of gratitude.
You're right.
There's probably also a lot of gratitude for being the guy who took it away. So all he has to do is walk in and ask for a hero's welcome, and they're all friends. Or if they want to play hardball, he can put the screws to their kneecaps. It's actually pretty fucking genius, if you ask me.
Agreed. But here's the point.
Maybe we want that power somewhat as a nation.
Ultimately, these are political decisions, and it's politicians that are going to cater to the normies. And they're going to cater, more importantly, to the lobbyist money that's being run into their pockets. But the bottom line is, the normies think that we're in the right by supplying Israel with weaponry and supporting Israel. So the majority of this country is in that league and is looking a blind eye, doesn't want to look at it. They don't look at other media that actually shows the horrors of what's happening in Gaza. Most of them don't want to look at it, don't want to accept it. And so and that's what bothers me, is that it's kind of like it's the Musk thing with X. I don't trust him. And it's the Trump thing with Netanyahu right now in Israel. Right. I don't trust him.
But a lack of trust is a thing can be demonstrated by transaction, right?
Yeah.
Also, it can be demonstrated by course of dealing. You can literally, if you watch people over time, like maybe you don't trust Elon as much yet as some other people do, right? But you probably trust him more than you did when you very first heard about the electric car company.
Well, yes.
Right. And the rockets didn't hurt, and then the sort of, at least in critical part, partial opening of free speech at a crucial moment was pretty powerful, and that did help us. And there's a certain degree of, it's harder not to trust him offhand, or to not trust him offhand, as you get those experiences.
Well, I go back way back to his PayPal days, and I used to think, damn it, Bitcoin should be PayPal. Bitcoin should be PayPal, but Bitcoin isn't, allowed.
He tried. Have you listened to that story? He tried to build it there. They threw him out for it.
Wait, say that again?
He tried to build a world financial systems railing that was outside of the existing system as a thing, and they started hitting the sort of resistance that people who tried to do it with e-gold started to hit.
That's why
there were some quiet threats made, and he was asked to quietly leave it. He took his money and he left.
Right.
And then they got taken over by Peter Thiel, and they focused on email payments.
Right.
And that's all they really did.
Yeah. That's where his whole X.com came from, because he wanted the everything app way back in his PayPal days.
Right. It was the idea that the world could be on one banking system. I still don't know what the fuck he's waiting for with just airdropping everybody Elon coin.
Which is insane, because Elon was ahead of WeChat of China.
If Trump coin can exist, that can.
If Trump coin goes private, then maybe I'll buy some.
That is a big thing, because I was shocked when it came out, and then it was but then he was like, how much have I made? $17 billion. Really? Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah. It is, but it is being used as a template. Well, if Trump coin can, then it's okay for us to do this. It's okay for us to do this. So it has brought that element
It was
of
a
the Wild West
softball lobbed
back.
in our narrative's general direction. We had to run with it. He didn't do us anything other than toss it, but we at least caught the damn ball.
It's like Russia and Ukraine, right? You know, Stalin he was Batman, and then I'm not saying he was a good person, and then Ukraine was Robin.
Right.
Trump is supposed to be Batman, and
dude,
Musk
Robin was an exploited orphan.
Yeah.
But Bruce
saying,
Wayne was undeniably a
personality.
superhero.
Yeah.
We actually could use a lot more Bruce Waynes. I feel like there are enough Bitcoin whales out
John
there.
John used to always told me. He always told me that when you have facts or experience or whatever you want versus personality. He was talking about some Caesar that ran or something. He goes, personality wins every time.
Charisma.
He said charisma and personality will win out every time it goes up again.
That and having everybody's private DMs for the last however long they've been on Twitter. That probably helps get through doors too.
True. Swagger is another name for it. And there was a swagger index that was applied for every presidential race. And you would say, okay, Mitt Romney, Obama. Swagger goes to Obama. John McCain or Obama. Well, swagger went there to Obama. How about going back to Reagan? Reagan versus Carter. Reagan had swagger. Clinton had swagger over. Who did he run against?
Exactly.
Dole, man. Bob Dole.
Bob Dole. There you go.
Freaking Dole.
Clinton had swagger.
I love that guy.
Clinton was the Trump of the day. He went on MTV. He went on MTV and had his town meeting. He went on MTV, and that's where the girls like, "Do you wear boxers or briefs?" He's like, "I'm gonna fuck you later." But he did that whole new way of campaigning, and it was all. And he literally said, to me, it's a nexus moment. It's when politics changed. It's when evil came in. When basically Bush was running against him and said, "You're a bad person and you did bad stuff, and your character, is bad." Yes. And he said, "It's about the economy, stupid." That was it, dude. They ran with it, and that's when it was a one topic. You could run on it. It didn't matter that you did this or what. I don't care. And now that's the biggest thing with Trump. He's a felon. I don't care. He did this. I don't care.
See,
it's like, but they
theoretically,
they created
he's not
that
really a felon. They just uplifted a misdemeanor to a felony.
The sad thing is that's how much we've diluted the status. Right now, it's actually kind of a badge of honor. Maybe we don't know.
Yeah, but I think that was the point. That was the nexus point. It's about the economy, stupid.
It's part of the postmodern project, guys.
Because he owned it.
Literally, it's about shredding our ability to categorize things.
Gary Hart.
Quick question.
Gary Hart was doing pretty well for the Democrat Party until a picture came out from the weekend where he was just on a boat with a different woman, and she was in the bikini.
Oh yeah, I remember
that was all it was, man. That was it. No, nothing else. And he had to drop out of the race because he was with another woman. It went from that to Clinton, like, yeah, man, I ain't perfect. I've dipped my dick in a couple others.
They'd be making fun of him. He'd be trying to catch up if he was in Saudi Arabia, though.
Zach, what was your question?
Because it's the opposite there.
You had a question.
Speaking of politics and what it does in this overt market of the economy anymore, do you think that we need somebody more like Bill Clinton in the White House?
Oh God.
I mean, as much as we loathe Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton was a product of his time.
Yeah.
You could have put a fucking monkey in a suit of any variety. Like, you could have literally stuffed a bag full of ferrets and just rolled it down the stairs, filming it the whole way, and that would be the one presidential appearance for the entire goddamn term. Yeah. And you still would have had a fucking budget surplus during the rise of the personal computer.
I was going to say, dude, that's offensive to monkeys. Don't say that.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Andrew, what do you think? Do we need a Clinton? Another Clinton in the White House?
A Bill, not a Hillary.
A beta president, man.
I mean, Chelsea Clinton, she got all that money from USAID, right? So, I mean, it's probably in the cards. But no, I want to touch on something that Satoshi Sean was talking about earlier. Politics, evil in politics creeps. If it's not trending, it's creeping and building slowly. And it has major momentous moments like World War II, and then it just kind of subsides and you know loses its steam, but it eventually regains its structure and becomes more and more evil as time goes by.
Yes.
It becomes accepted more, you know.
Well, you know,
what is
talk
what
about
is,
who
what
do,
is,
should we have in the White House? You know, there was a lot of people, and I had strong sentiments this way. Vote for Kamala to hasten the collapse.
Right, I've heard that too. No, I think it's proven we don't need a president because if Joe Biden was in office and survived 4 years of him, we don't need anybody.
I think I think the thing about that was they were scared because you don't know who's in charge. If at least Kamala's in charge. And speaking about hastening the collapse, David Hogg voted as the vice chair of the DNC party.
Hey,
I don't know anything about it.
Let's not roast David Hogg. I know he's a retard.
He's the vice.
Those poor people deserve a break. Somebody let them not be in cameras.
You know the skinny
seriously
kid that was he at Sandy Hook or somewhere? He was like
sad, kind of.
He was like a major anti-gun activist. He's just like a left-wing psycho.
His dad was a Fed.
Literally. He got a premature push.
So he got a really major push.
Insane things. Like really insane things. Just type it in, David Hogg, and you'll see him. Oh, that guy, that kid.
Yeah.
He is now.
Unhinged.
He even said, "I'm so politically toxic. There's no way I could ever run for office or ever would."
Yeah.
He's not wrong. But here he is, vice chair of the Democratic National Committee.
Maybe fight for your ideals for 10 years, and if you're still around, you have a shot.
Yeah, I would say that we do have jumping off of the Joe Biden and not really running things ordeal. I would say we have an example of not necessarily needing a national government with the shutdown for almost I think it was 18 months in Spain years ago, when the national government literally shut down because they couldn't agree on a budget, and Spain economically flourished. They just kept on doing their thing. I mean,
right. That was like the one weird moment where we had like a blip of free market capitalism in the world. Like that might have been the last time, actually. Well, maybe the Bank of Amsterdam.
Well, somebody asked a question. There's been, and they said there's been like 87 government shutdowns in the last 20 years or something. Do you remember any of them? And I can remember one. That was it. But it was a long one.
Do you mean coups?
They staffed the fucking booth to turn you away from the
because at the time I was in Europe. My mother was a government employee.
Damn it.
And for 1 month, the military didn't get paid. And we were in a foreign country. I do remember that one time. It may have been Reagan. It was back then. That was huge, because then literally the military had to answer the question personally: am I going to go to work today because I haven't gotten paid? And whenever they started asking that question, and some people didn't, like literally it would be the command would make the decision. Right. Hey, everybody has the next week off. We understand. You can stay home with your family. Whatever. You don't need to come in. You don't have to work on the tanks. You don't have to do.
Right.
That was like a crazy, crazy time. But that's the only one I remember. Yeah.
Hey guys, we're at the minute mark. Yeah. We gotta cut this off. I need everyone to do a brief outro. Let's start with Andrew, Zach, and we'll work our way around back to me. Andrew,
I'm gonna fix this the right way this time. FreeRogerNow.org.
Oh.
Free Roger Bear.
Good. Nice. Zach, what's happening?
Check us out 7 p.m. on YouTube and Rumble. Should be on the Knocked Unconscious channel. But the League of Ordinary Friends comes back. We started this a month ago. We're going to try to do this every first or second Thursday of each month. And yeah, at 7 p.m. we're going to talk about some positive and negative rights and go into anything else that we get into. And then don't miss the Legacy Right. We're live tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we have ANCAP Air coming back. This time with Andrew on the fold. I haven't done it with Andrew yet. So we're going to talk shit about the partyarchy.
Cool. Greg, how
I
about
would
you?
say, since Joe's not here, I'm going to go ahead and take, and if you don't mind if I take little Joe time, because I want to make sure we get the word out about this,
4 minutes.
This AI for letter writing. This thing is actually pretty incredible, and Joe kind of undersold it, as he often does. Like, that's one thing you'll find out about Dragon Chain stuff, is like there's a whole bunch of awesome stuff that you'll immediately love that Joe would never think to even brag about. But this letter writer thing is one of these little technical innovations. It's like right up there, in my opinion, with the bot implementation of that time save. Eternalize it.
Yes.
Right. This is that level. So he trained the entire network over again from a base, which is, it takes a little bit of technical know how to do, but like anybody can go learn how to do this, by the way. It's not that hard, but you have to give the effort. And he trained this AI on all Dragon Chain's corpus, and then got it a personality of sorts, to where it's a recruiter to the Dragon Legion.
Yes.
And it's trying to get you involved. And the more you tell this AI, the more it will be able to come up with weird little features that not even Joe would have thought of about Dragon Chain, that will help you get to a goal you want to accomplish in a big picture way, and frame it into this letter and say, here's a societal benefit you're foregoing by suing this company. And it's going to cap that off by going, but that's not all, because this is just one example. And we're going to move on to the next and the next. This is going to turn into a spreading.
But that's not all. You also
the goal is to create a cascade effect, getting the political prisoners all out, and then figuring out why they were there, and making sure that the thing they needed to get done gets done.
I tried it last night, and it's phenomenal. I asked a quick question.
It's fucking
about
America's blockchain. We're going to make it like
like if you wanted to look and learn about the case. It was really good. Sean, let's be quick. I'm sorry.
I had one minute left. 1 minute, just like 30 seconds. 15. I'm just going to implore everybody, like I used to fucking do, and we're back now. If you're not building something and you're watching this show and you understand it, and you have everything in your head about a thing you could build, or maybe you don't, but you could if you fucking put a little effort in. You stop slacking. If you're running a venture, see if you have room in your life for another one. We need as many people building this as possible. The breach is wide open. As long as the Trump coin flag sails, no one will come after you first. Build whatever you want. Reimagine the world now. It's 2017. It's time to get going.
Perfect.
I will say, dildos are a big market.
John.
Like Greg said, don't use Slack. Use another intercompany communication thing.
Dragon Chain.
Yeah, Dan. Yes, it was a Slack joke. It was a very tech joke. I thought you nerds would get it. Okay. Check me out. I have a crypto meme review coming here, maybe today or tomorrow, which I haven't done in a while because memes have been a little slow, but should be good. True Tuesdays on Tuesday with me and Lisa. Check that out. It's good hanging out with you.
Likewise.
And free Roger Veer. Also tonight there is a Spaces on Twitter from the McAfee project.
Cool.
So something you can check out.
Learn about that.
Cool.
All right, off to me. I want everyone to go to Den.Social, and this is where you can present your ideas for political free speech. You're not going to be censored here. We also got a Den.Dow meeting today at 2:00 in about 2 hours. So if you want to join that, it's a meeting. Cameras are optional and that kind of thing. Please join in and learn what's going on with Den. And that is it. I appreciate everybody here for joining us today. We're going to go out with McAfee.
America's not the government, people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon. the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done? You have turned yourself into sheep, every goddamn one of you.
It won't end.
Are we still on?
Yeah, we're still over. Yeah, we had.
It wouldn't end. It's still
Well,
going.
hey guys, if
Did
you're
you
still
click
with
okay?
us,
We got an encore, everyone.
Technical
Okay.
issues. Technical issues.
It won't
fucked up
end
the replay.
stream.
Isn't it the replay that needs the 2-hour limit?